Is that you, Tina?
It is I.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. How is everybody on this possibly snowy day?
We're doing pretty great. We enjoyed our individual holiday weekends as we hope you enjoyed as well.
I really did. It was. I was a little rainy on Christmas, which meant that even more cookies were baked than might have been. But yesterday I got out for a really good walk, so I did my penance for eating too many cookies.
We give and we take.
Yes, we do. And speaking of give and take, I always like a segue. We're going to talk about a proposal from Albany that has a lot of people's hair on fire. The law that we're talking about is a law aimed at ending single-family zoning. And to many in suburbia, this feels like the apocalypse. Similarly, not that long ago, New York was also talking about banning what are called, or preventing the banning of accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. But what are these measures about, and why do they feel so threatening and draconian? So let's take a step back. These measures, which feel like a lot of interference from the state, because we in each town that we live in, enjoy the local home rule, local zoning. But what we have statewide is an affordable housing crisis, which we were talking about. I think that was only last week or 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the serious declining in population here in Rockland County, I would say largely driven by a lack of affordable housing for millennials and starter families. So little by little, we're eroding the ability to have a thriving, balanced population. And I guess that, there are some state lawmakers who think so too, and who basically are considering a bill that would end exclusionary zoning and allow for multiple units to be built on most lots that are earmarked for residential development. The senator, a New York City state senator, Brad Hoylman, has introduced a bill that basically would allow multifamily construction on almost all residential lots, eliminate parking requirements in cities and villages, and prohibit municipalities from requiring large lot size for homes. The legislation would also prevent cities and villages from setting minimum lot sizes larger than 1,200 square feet, and it would also bar them from requiring off-street parking. So essentially in cities, landowners could build 4 family dwellings on any residential lot and up to 6 family buildings within a quarter mile of a train station. And in villages, builders could construct duplexes on any residential lot or 6 family dwellings near transit stations. And finally, the bill also addresses that towns setting a maximum lot size of 20,000 feet or 5,000 square feet if the parcel has access to sewer or infrastructure. So why is this why does this cause such hysteria? Why does the proposal of ADUs cause such hysteria? I guess the opponents worry about the state reaching in and having such sweeping powers, and some go, kind of to the apocalypse scenario of feeling that this would be the end of the character of our suburbs, that it would, vastly change, what our suburbs look like and how we live. Today we posted an opinion piece by local attorney Michael Starvaggi, who calls this, I don't know if it's his term, but he uses the word suburbicide. And, and he talks about, I think, he compares this to the states using police power to enact local laws. he, along with many others, I guess, doesn't think that this will ever happen. Because he doesn't think that he thinks that there would be constitutional challenge to this. But at the same time, what we're seeing around the country in California and in, I think it's maybe Washington State and Connecticut, or maybe Minnesota, there are other places, that are taking a look at this issue. And what the issue springs from, just to go back to the underlying driver here, is, like I said, the rent burden population and the lack of affordable housing. The New York University, the Furman Center, has found, quote, that New York has some of the most exclusionary zoning in the country, which has slowed housing production, and called New York suburbs, quote, their phrase, national laggards in housing development. You have proponents, obviously, on the affordable housing front who are saying, we need to do something to even things out, and also to slow the demise of our declining populations. At the same time, though, you have, the kind of the knee-jerk reaction locally that, there's no way that the state can enact something like this. It's really unclear where this will go. And so we wait, we see, we watch how the debate plays out. We look at, what's happening in Minneapolis. They're looking at this. I mentioned California actually signed a bill that effectively bans single-family zoning in the country's largest state. California always tends to be first. Connecticut is they've also passed some laws recently to spur the increase in density in suburbs. We have two efforts here in this county, one over in Nanuet, the proposed Nanuet TOD, and it's also been talked about over in Pearl River by the train station. It's around these transit hubs that this kind of density and affordable housing makes sense. But where are these projects? We do hear that in the Nanuet TOD there might be some agreement coming between the major landowner and the town. But the town may have to tweak its own recently passed zoning at the TOD in order to allow for some more units before that, to incentivize that landowner, the Ben Cohn and his family over in Nanuet. So it's a careful dance. I mean, sure, people like their beautiful single-family homes and the character of the suburbs, and at the same time, you want to have a healthy economy and live in a place where young people like yourself can can rent and or buy a starter house. So it's a pretty complicated issue. Causes a lot of emotional, just like the cannabis issue. It causes a lot of emotional reaction. But what's really needed is non-emotional debate, to look at the issues, the problems, and to see where some of the solutions are.
Right. I mean, we've basically been hearing about the cannabis matter pretty much on a daily basis now, considering Haverstraw's sort of method of implementing it, because it looks like that's going to be the case, as we only have a few days left for the rest of the year. So it's sort of been controversial. I don't know if you've heard our newscast last week, but we've had a lot of callers calling in with different opinions on that. But on the housing issue, yes, it'd be nice to have an affordable place to live here, but I can understand some sentiment in that a lot of people sort of want to keep the suburbanness. People want to avoid what was the term, suburbicide?
Yeah, again, he used it in the column that we run today. These are his thoughts and words, but he used the term suburbicide as if it would be the end of suburbia. Like I said, I
Interesting.
don't know if he coined it or it's derivative and he found it somewhere else.
Yeah.
But what it's talking about is, basically the end of the character. I think it's a bit of an overstatement. I think that there is a way to plan smartly so that we have a combination of open space and we keep our conservation land open. But at the same time, I think we're at a critical. We're at that where we're squeezed between needing to have more affordable housing, and we need to figure out a way to do that. So, if these developments like the TOD and, transit-oriented development in Nanuet and Pearl River, if they remain stalled for years, or if they take years, there has to be a look at how to make this happen throughout the county, so that builders can build, developments that make sense and cater to the need. I mean, just as we see this proliferation of senior housing living here in the county, every time you turn around, I mean, it's whiplash. Every time you turn around, there's another senior housing proposal on the table in one town or another. Well, there's a reason. It's because, we're squeezed with a need. The same is true for affordable housing for millennials, and for affordable and to take the weight off the rent burdened part of the population. They say that what is it? I think the stat that I've seen was like more than, is it 30? No, I can't remember this. If you're paying more than 30% in your earnings for rent, then you're considered rent burdened.
Interesting.
And so, the reason why this matters is it affects the entire economy. If people don't have, if they're eating up all of their earnings to pay the rent, then the money is not flowing through the economy. So
right.
we think it's somebody else's problem, but it actually, nothing is ever somebody else's problem. We live in a human ecosystem where whatever happens to one set of people affects what happens to another set of people. So that's why New York State, I guess, has come out with these two different bills. Will they actually manifest? Will they go anywhere? How much fighting will take place? A lot. But what they do represent is a truth that there is a problem, and that it needs addressing, and that it's gotten to like a critical situation. It's at a critical situation at this point, as opposed to something. It's like we wait for our problems to be, like climate change. We wait for our problems to get to a point where we don't act proactively enough.
Yeah, there's a lot of reactive. I could certainly say that I agree with you there, and you can see evidence of that all across, not just in Rockland County, but across the country and the world. Tina, I know we are a little over time. I don't know if you have anything else to get to right after this. If you got to go, you got to go, but we do have a caller that does have a question for you if you have time.
Sure, I always make time for my favorite radio station.
Thank you so much. Jimmy, you are on the air with Tina Traster from the Rockland County Business Journal.
Hey, Jimmy.
Thank you, Tina, for the information. It's very enlightening. But, it's again the same thing, okay? You let government bureaucrats put their own thoughts on the residents who pay the salaries. That's exactly what it is here, okay? I remember years ago when I used to live in one of the 5 boroughs of New York, we moved out because we wanted to have a place of our own. We didn't want to live just in another cubicle in a house with many, many apartments and so on. And you can see this is what's going on. People want to leave big cities, after a while, and have their own space, the little house with a little white fence and so on and so, and trying to force people to do something like this, even those people who start their life and need a place to rent. At one point, they would like to, when they have a family, they would like to have a place of their own. And when you close this thing, okay, because what you're doing now, or what they want to do now, is basically just put the foot into the door. And who says that initially maybe it'll be Nanuet and somewhere else, okay, Pearl River, okay, but nobody says it will not increase, and that's how it generally goes. You have greedy, that's what it is, it's greedy developers that see a way of making money, and greedy politicians play along here, okay. The last thing I like to mention here, what about all those estates of millions of dollars, okay? Would you come and say that they would be converted to eventually? You know, I'm thinking about Oprah Winfrey, which have multiple very expensive places around the country. I like to see somebody try to tell her, you know what, we're going to convert all your expensive dwelling here to multiple housing there. It will never work. You can see in New York some of the very ritzy billionaires' properties, okay, that they're occupying multiple floors, okay. It's in essence a place of their own. It's like if you have a house there, they have in Manhattan or wherever, they have this multiple flooring and stuff like this. Would you say a person like this would be forced to change it? I don't think so.
That's not the spirit of the bill. It's not that you would have.
That's the beginning. The bill is just putting the foot forward. Sticking the foot into the door so they can open the door, and within time, if they have their way, they will continue on doing it. Okay. I mean, this is just the beginning. Okay. It's like everything has to have a beginning, and this is the beginning of basically take our way, our freedom, our choices. It has to do with choices. People have a right to live where they want. You cannot have a government dictate to people that they have to live in cubicles because under some auspices that it may be good. Who is it really good for? It's good only for the developers, which are going to make a lot of money. It's good for the people, the owners of this dwelling here, that instead of getting maybe one or two rents, they'll get multiple rents. That's what it's all about. It's about the money and forcing the little person with less resources to fight in court to capitulate.
All right, well, we'll have to see where it goes. We have to address this housing crisis one way or the other. Would you acknowledge that we do have a housing crisis?
I would say in some places there may be a lack of dwelling. Okay, I'll give you that. Okay, but I think part of the problem here is also that it used to be many years ago. Okay, there used to be like a cap of how much you can charge a rent. Right now, a lot of these places, laws have been changing, and people and landlords can charge whatever they want. Okay, I think the idea then, was sound, that you can cap how much you can charge people there, and I don't mean that people should have the right to give this their rented place from generation to generation. I think this is wrong. Okay, but I think there should be some kind of a cap. So just as you said.
But just think about that, Jimmy. So you're keen on a cap. I agree. That's a good idea. But that would be government enforcement too, because it would have to be across the board.
Yeah, that's rent control.
You're absolutely right. Okay, so at least let government do good for the people, not do good for the developer or the money makers.
Developers are people too, Jimmy. Don't forget that.
I understand. There is a way of making money, and there's a way of being a pig. And
and here in America, we favor the pigs.
Well, I don't think so.
Oink.
I don't think oink. Okay, listen. Okay, you know what happened to pigs? They get slaughtered.
And they're delicious too.
Do you want to get slaughtered?
I don't want to get slaughtered. I'd rather eat the pigs.
I don't like ham.
Okay, do you want somebody to eat you?
Not me. I'm not the pig. I'm not the pig. I'm doing the eating.
You're doing the eating. Okay.
You're a landlord?
Okay. Listen. Okay. I don't say it's an easy solution here, but I think it's one more micro
solution. Okay, is that when developers build projects, developments, there's usually an affordable housing set aside. But the loophole of being able to buy their way out of that by paying the town or village a fee I think has exasperated the problem.
You're probably right. You can see what happened in Westchester, all those areas there. I was reading about this big fight, about this community fighting, changing old golf course to to an expensive school and stuff like this. They end up losing because the community was very, very strong with a lot of resources. And in cases like this, which are very few in between, the community won. Okay, but most of us don't have this kind of resources. We don't have lawyers, talking on our behalf. So it is just one way of of doing bad to the majority of middle class people.
Well, this isn't an issue we're going to solve today, but Jimmy, thank you very much. It's an issue we'll bring up again. I want you to make sure you read Tina's article about suburbicide on rcbizjournal.com. Thank you very much, Jimmy, as always. And Tina, we'll talk to you again next Monday. Have yourself a happy new year. You and your family are happy and healthy.
Same to everybody out there in Rockland Land.
Very good. Thanks, Tina.